Yuk, mulai, Mek.
Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, the Honorable Mr. Andriana Gafar as the lecturer of this course, and also our beloved friends that are in a good condition, that in a good healthy condition. I am, as the moderator, welcoming all of you guys in our presentation right now. So, without any further ado, I think I will introduce the member of the group first. Okay, the first there are Majmuatul Husni. The second there are myself, Dwikal Kepala Putra, and the third Megadini Fauzia, and the last one is Ilfa Hasana. Okay, so next slide. I'm sorry. Okay, so in this presentation, in the first presenter is Megadini Fauzia. For Mega, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Here I will explain about expressive or instrumental communication. So in this case, our communication involves interaction and the possibility of a possible emotional response is always present. Here we will focus on what is generally referred to as expressive and instrumental communication. Trompenaars and Hapden Turner 2012 in emotional and neutral, the more HCC culture, the more expensive they tend to be and the more sensitive they will be to communication that may affect the face. As a result, they will tend to evaluate the mental or neutral person instruction as cold peace and emotionality. So in here, expressive communication refer to communication that is primarily focused on conveying emotion. Uh, Primarily focused on conveying emotion, feeling, and attitude, rather than conveying information. Uh, on the other hand, instrumental communication is focused on conveying information to achieve a specific goal or objective. In the context of translating and interpreting, expressive communication involves conveying the tone, emotion, and attitude of the speaker. While instrumental communication involves conveying the meaning and information of the message accurately. Both types of communication are important in if effective translation and interpreting. Okay, next slide. Okay, thank you. And next, I will explain about expression in address form in address form. Uh, in this material, the way you greet someone is highly interactional and signal an affective level that may be more or less appropriate in different culture. In general, the higher the context orientation, the more important the little because of its obvious status value. In other countries, the use of titles such as doctor, professor, or engineer is expected not only in transactional and formal context, but also in instructional and informal context, given the relative importance of conferring status. So, in this material, refer to the way people address each other in different culture and language. This is this expression can vary depending on the level of formality, the relationship between the speaker and the cultural norm of the language being spoken. For example, in English, it is common to address someone as Mr. or Mrs. Followed by their last name in formal situation, while in informal situation, people may use first name or nicknames. In some culture, it is customary to use honorifics or a title to show respect, such as sensei in Japanese or doctor in Germany. Okay, I think this is enough for my material. I will go back to moderator.
Okay. Have you finished, Mega?
Yes,
All right.
finish.
Thank you very. Okay. Thank you very much, Mega, for presenting your material. So, okay. Now we are jumping on to the next presenters. So the next presenters will be Husni. So for Husni, the stage is yours then.
Okay, thank you, Rika, that give me time in this opportunity. And today I will to explain the material presentation about direct and indirect communication. So let's see on this page, the notions of direct and indirect are very slippery and cannot be distinguished in a straightforward manner. Indirectness is often associated with conventional forms of politeness. For example, such "would you please" or "could you be kind" or "could you please." In this case, the degree of directness or indirectness depends on the difference between the literal meaning and the intended meaning, as well as the number of inferences that need to be made by recipient from Ranger at Miles 2015, page 34-35. So I think this means that this discussion discusses the meaning of direct sentence so that the recipient or listener can provide a response in the form of a conclusions from what he means in the interlocutor's sentence. And for LCC culture, we will generally support direct communications that is clear, unambiguous, and explicit, while HCC culture will tend to avoid indirect communications even though the context of the situation, such as transactional or intransactional communications, will have a determining influence in this matter. And for in this context, there's two cultures are to support communication, whether it will be directed and clear, or will avoid direct communication. These two contexts are not longer commonly used in the context of direct or indirect communication. Let's move into the next material. I think, sorry, hmm, ini nggak bisa di next slide, sorry. Nah, for next material about cooperative maxim and miscommunication. In this case, LCC suggests that speaker and reader should expect the discourse to be informative, honest, relevant, clear, and concise when the context is collaborative. Thus, these maxims may be functional in LCC transactional communication. The readers themselves are expert in ignoring each of this maxim as soon as the communications in demand to be interactional in nature. In addition to maxim violations in English, HCC Chinese is a classic example of this tendency, which creates real problem in intercultural communication. So, conversational aphorisms were coined by English philosopher H. Powell Grace in the 19th and 70 years. Grace conversational maxims, also known as Grecian maxims, are based on Grace's cooperative principle, which aim to explain how people achieve effective communication in everyday situation. Which believes that meaningful dialogue is characterized by cooperation and is based on one's own interests. Cooperative principle theory conversation assume the conversations participants typically strive to be honest, informative, relevant, and clear to facilitate successful communication. Based on these assumptions, Twist divided his cooperative principle into four maxims of conversation. The four maxims of conversations are the maxim of quality, the maxim of quantity, the maxim of relevance, and the maxim of attitude. Rich believed that anyone who want to engage in meaningful communications would follow this principle and would assume that others will follow them as well. So I think that's all about the presentation about dialect and indirect conversation and cooperative and miscommunication. Cooperative maxims and miscommunications. I will back to moderator. Luca, thank you.
All right, thank you, Husni. Okay, so now the next presenters will be Ulfa. And for Ulfa, the time is yours then.
Okay, thank you to the moderator. Okay, disclaimer here, I only explain what I understand and read a little of what is written in the book. Okay, the action orientation. Uh, this is highlight how important it is to understand how a culture tends to act and relate. I think awareness of this orientation helps us better understand how to interact with other cultures by recognizing whether a culture is more focused on action or maintaining relationship. We can avoid conflict and design more harmonious interactions. The concept of action orientation can manifest in cultures as either doing or being orientation, which correspond to highlight woven or loosely knit cultures, respectively. In a high context culture or HCC, characterized by tight connections and reliance on context, individuals adopt present patterns leading to non-action orientation. Conversely, low context culture or LCC is still developing, promoting an action orientation. This distinction may also influence language, with nominalization being more prevalent in HCC like Italian and Japan's compared to LCCs like English. However, it's essential to note that factors beyond doing or being orientation may contribute to language variation. Highly doing oriented cultures such as the United States and Germany are very good at distinguishing between facts and personal feelings. In these cultures, criticism and action does not necessarily mean attacking one's identity. The criticism is directed at behavior. This distinction is very important as it allows for constructive feedback without jeopardizing one's feeling. They have a little problem separating facts from personal feelings. They can criticize the action without necessarily any implication that the person's identity is under attack. All that is involved is the criticism of behavior. And the next slide. The next slide is conversational features. Okay, this section discusses two main aspects of communication, namely influence and turn taking. So the first regarding influence, Tana 2012 states that there is a high influence or high considerateness orientation in conversation patterns. Scholar et al. 2012 used the term influence and independence as manifestation of different phase systems or types of politeness. They note that facial recruitment are paradoxical. On the on on the one hand, in human interaction, we have a need to engage with other participants and to show our influence to them. On the other hand, we need to maintain some level of independence from other participants and show them that we respect their independence. And the second, regarding turn taking, the speaker sends verbal and nonverbal cues to indicate to their interlocutor that their turn or point is complete. This interlocutor may also indicate to the current speaker that they wish to take over. The signal vary from one individual to another, but also from one culture to another. Cultures with high influence show more tolerance for conversational overlap and interruption. Tane and Skolon et al. Also agree that turn-taking dynamics vary from one culture or phase system to use their term to another. Interactions is cultures oriented towards the respect or caution or characterized by longer pauses, while speakers in solidarity or engagement cultures use regular pauses, and trompeners and Hamped Turner create an idealized diagram of three different styles of speech, turn taking according to three different cultures, which they refer to as Anglo-Saxons, Latin, and Oriental. These cultural differences in turn taking dynamics highlight the importance of understanding and adapting. Uh, communication styles across cultures, and then you can see in the chapter report. Okay, I think enough for me. I will return it to the moderator.
All right, thank you, Ilfa, for presenting your materials. So now it's my turn to give a presentation. Okay, so the first I'm going to present a non-verbal language. Okay, so wait a second. So okay, so non-verbal language, an important part of the meaning of instructional messages is not verbal, but nonverbal signs do not always have the same meaning cross-culturally. Okay, as Nishiyama states that in Japanese there is a culture named Sukuriwarai. This culture explains that when someone give a smile, but that smile is not a sincere. So that smile isn't showing the charm feeling of someone. It but it may means that as embarrassing insult, humiliation, or maybe degradation of someone. Okay, so the means that someone smile because I don't want to lose my enthusiasm pleasant atmosphere of this negotiation. You don't have to think I agree with you, as cultural mediator and translator must be able to take this communicative action and change them with communication channel form. For example, HCC visual to LCC verbal style. Diplomatic translator Maria Rosaria, he has a personal communication, recounts a particular example. He was became a translator for for the president of Italy, Francesco Cossiga, who was talking to Financial Times staff when he suddenly tapped on the wooden table and saying, "Because I am Sardinian." And she also explains that even though he follows the professional guidelines of a translator from adding text, he realized that it would cause a knock on wood to be interpreted as I hope or if we are lucky. So in nonverbal language, we may understand that gesture, any facial features of someone doesn't show the actual means of the language itself. Smiling isn't is not forever means does not forever means as charming or maybe happiness. It may also means as insulting. For example, when someone is smiling at you because you are making a mistake or something else, it doesn't mean that that person is happy because you are doing a fail. No, it's not, right? Okay, so next slide. Okay, and the next is the role of the mediator, translator, or maybe interpreter. Interactional communication is perhaps the most challenging and controversial type in terms of how language professionals should facilitate the reading of these intercultural maps. This translation in the translation in interactional situation, as in the case of business translation or maybe communi- community translation, including courts, police, immigration, refugees, health service, malware, and similar public service. This also involves enormous task and debatable expectation. However, in community settings, translation is often the only way to facilitate communication. So the role of mediator, translator, or interpreter itself is giving the meaning of a language, right? Giving a meaning of language. Um, not only from the literal means, but also uh, should give the meaning by the was that by the oh wait a second by okay not only giving a meaning, giving a translation about the literal meaning, but also the hidden meanings in a language. Okay, so the mediator or the translator or maybe the interpreter should know the historically background of a language. They also should know about the cultural meanings of of the language itself. They also needs to why is that? They also needs to interpret. They also needs to translate the feelings of someone, whether they are feeling happy, whether they are feeling angry or something else. So I think becoming a mediator or translator is not only uh, changing the meaning from not only changing the language from Indonesian to English, but also, for example, not only changing the language from Indonesian to English, but also needs to make the similarities, the most similar meaning into each cultural habit, into each cultural language. For example, when someone in Sundanese we called Manawi, we know Manawi, yes, we know Manawi, but in English or maybe in any language there is no such thing as Manawi, right? But in English we know that okay, so we know that Manawi means that someone is offering something to you, right? Or okay, maybe in English, you may say or you may use, would you like some blah blah blah? Would you like some tea? Would you like some cup of coffee? Manawi kopi? Would you like some coffee? Right? Like, so that's the meaning of the role of the mediator. So I think that is from me. Okay, now we are jumping into the conclusion itself, or yes. No, okay. I think that's gonna be it from us. We are really sorry if we are making some mistakes. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your patience in waiting for us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.